Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fight Business. Happy New Year, everybody. Let's talk about the college football playoff game. It was a beautiful game. It was a very, very entertaining game. I'm talking about the game between Michigan Wolverines and the Alabama Crimson Tide. But before we get into that, go ahead and like this video, ladies and gentlemen, and go ahead and leave a comment and let us know what do you guys think about the game. Did you guys like the game? Did you guys enjoy the game? Or were you guys not impressed with the game between Michigan Wolverines and Alabama Crimson Tide? And obviously, if you haven't already, please, please, please subscribe to the channel. So, Michigan Wolverines versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. It was a beautiful game, like I mentioned earlier. The game started with Alabama scoring first. It looked like the Alabama Roll Tide is on its way, but Michigan came back. They scored they answered with a score as well. I believe it was some guy I've never even heard of. Actually, I've heard of different receivers, but this Morris guy, I think it was Tyler Morris. I hadn't even heard of him that much before the game. So interestingly, he was the one who scored for Michigan, which was a beautiful score. Actually, he caught the ball, ran to the end zone, and did not get tackled down before. Another thing very interesting was that Jalen Milroe. Everybody was talking about the quarterback. Everybody was talking about Alabama's quarterback, how he's very elusive, he's very fast, and he's very strong. He can throw the ball long ways. And everybody was saying that Mr. Jalen Milroe, the quarterback of the Alabama Crimson Tide, may be the kryptonite of Michigan Wolverines. But Michigan Wolverines handled the quarterback really well. They sacked him like 5 times in the first half. That was really nice to see. Michigan defense, their pass rush really just getting to Mr. Jalen Milroe and really taking care of the quarterback there and taking that out of the equation, at least in the first half. So I believe Michigan scored a couple of times and then they messed up with the snap for the extra point. They messed up with the snap. It was number 19. I forget the name of the player, but he couldn't handle the ball and they lost that point. So going in after the first half, going into the first half, Alabama did come back with a 3-pointer. So it was 13-10 at the first half. So it was a very close game. Michigan was a little bit on top, even though Alabama had scored first in the game. Michigan was a little bit on the top at halftime. But when second half came around, looks like Alabama had adapted and that all the sacks that were happening in the first half stopped happening. And Michigan didn't get another sack until the end of the game, I believe it was. And Alabama was getting their roll tide on, and they scored, I believe, and then they scored another 3-pointer. So they went from 13-10 to first they scored and then they scored like so they went from 17-13 Alabama by scoring and hitting the 1-pointer, and then again they scored again with a 3-pointer. And during this time you could see that the Alabama offense is really finding its groove. They're covering some ground, and whenever Michigan got the ball, they really couldn't do much with it. And this was the time when it looked like Alabama has adapted. Alabama Crimson Tide has his roll tide on, and it looks like Alabama is going to win it. The first half was Michigan's half, maybe, even though Alabama scored first, but it was Michigan's half with all those sacks and 2 touchdowns, I believe it was. But the second half, it looked like maybe Alabama knows what Alabama has gotten their number. They have adapted to the situation, and they now understand how to play. And the whole third quarter, it was all Alabama. The whole fourth quarter, it was all Alabama, except for the last 3 minutes or 3 to 4 minutes. That's when Michigan just dug deep, I guess. They just dug deep, found something somewhere, and Mr. Roman Wilson got a catch, covered some ground, and then he also scored a touchdown. Mr. Roman Wilson, that is. But I should mention that the pass before the touchdown, the one that Mr. Roman Wilson covered some ground on, you guys have to watch the game or watch the highlights to know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you have watched the game, you will know what I'm talking about. When JJ McCarthy threw that pass, I believe it tipped the ball tipped through like one of the defenders tipped the ball before it even reached Roman Wilson. So that was very interesting. But nevertheless, Roman Wilson got the ball. He covered some ground, and then Michigan scored right at the end of fourth quarter, and then scored a one-pointer, taking the game into overtime. And then obviously Mr. Blake the Great Corum, Mr. Blake Corum, who is not the tallest person in the world, maybe not the fastest person in the world, because if he's not the tallest, he doesn't have the longest legs, so he probably can't cover as much ground. He's very fast, but this gentleman, you don't have to be the tallest, you don't have to be the strongest, you just gotta have that grit, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what Mr. Blake Corum showed. When the ball was passed to him for the touchdown, he did his shift. You can call it shift. It was a cut or a shift, whatever you want to call it. It was lateral movement. He got through one defender, and then I think he got through another defender, and he was just spinning. He just spun his way to the end zone. It was like, playing Madden. All you got to do is press that circle button. But in real life, it's not that easy to just spin and, go through a defender. But like he made it look so easy, as if he was playing a video game and he was just pressing circle and playing Madden, and just spun twice, got to the end zone, scored, and then Michigan stopped Mr. Jalen Milroe and his team to score, and they won the playoff. So the analysts, I was watching something on YouTube today. They were saying that Mr. Nick Saban got out-coached by Mr. Jim Harbaugh. I completely disagree with that. I don't think that Mr. Jim, it's not about getting out coached or anything. Mr. Nick Saban is a great coach. A lot of people say that he's the best coach in the history of college football. And if anything, he did a great job at coaching, because first half Alabama was down, and they were sacking Mr. Jalen Milroe over and over, back to back, 5-6 sacks in the first half. And when second half came around, there must have been some talk that Mr. Nick Saban gave to his boys, that the sacks just stopped happening, and the adaptation that we saw by Alabama in the second half shows what a great coach Mr. Nick Saban is. It was right at the end of the fourth quarter is when Michigan came through with something. They just dug deep. I think it was just that grit, that passion, that I don't know how to explain it, but that intention to be the best, just to prove everybody that Michigan are here to play. It was probably that thing about Michigan versus everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we can also learn a lesson here, that when you feel that things aren't happening your way, when you feel that you're being treated unfairly, like maybe in the case of maybe Michigan players think that way, maybe Michigan coach thinks that way, that he hasn't been treated fairly with all the sign stealing and whatnot. But the lesson that we can learn is that when something like that happens to you, you can respond not by words, by performance, ladies and gentlemen, by actions, ladies and gentlemen. You can shut people up by performing and by actions, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely take a lesson or two from sports. This is what we're taking on this game, that if some things don't go your way, respond with performance, with actions. You don't have to respond with words. You don't have to respond with hostility. You can just be the best at what you do, and everybody will just shut up. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching this video. We will be publishing more videos as the time goes on. We may publish some more videos on college football as well, so please stay tuned for that. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.